Hi, welcome to the 12th House Podcast. I'm Michelle, your co-host and the head witch in charge here at Holisticism. Delighted to have you. Welcome back to the squirrels who have been here before, to our new squirrels. Hi, how's it going? The 12th House Podcast is a little corner of the internet where we bring together creativity, inspiration, intuition, spiritual shit, the metaphysical, the practical, tactical stuff that comes to running a business. And we bring it to you so that you can do your sacred work, so you can self-actualize, so you can be the biggest you could possibly be. It's really fun. You're going to like it, I think. So anyway, let's get into today's episode.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Wallis. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We are coming at you with part 2
of our 13 rules for squiggly brained witches, which is the Holisticism Manifesto, principles, rules for existing, blah, blah, blah. And insert whatever you want to call them here.
Yeah. It's kind of like, use God or universe or energy or Gaia, whatever.
Vibes, whatever.
Yeah, kind of the same here.
Gaia's a throwback and I like that.
Yeah.
So if you didn't already catch the first half of this episode, I would recommend it. That would be a good place to start. Or whatever, you can just dive in. We're not the boss of you. You can do whatever you want. But you'll probably get a little bit more out of this if you go listen to the first episode where we talk about the first 7 rules on our 13 rules list. We're going to pick back up with our 8th rule, which is make paradoxical moves. Asterisk. A paradoxical move is simply a radical change in perspective.
It's more simple than you think, but it doesn't mean it's easy.
As most things are.
Yeah. Oh, so true.
Honestly, simple is sometimes the hardest.
Yeah. What is a paradoxical move you've made recently?
I actually think that I've been shutting my computer down at 4 or 4:30, and I'm getting so much more work done.
Yes.
Being very strict about it with myself and not taking my computer into the main house. We have a back house that I work in. Not taking my computer in at night. I get a lot more done in my day when I know that I don't have wiggle room time, or I can't be I'll do it later while we're watching TV. So shoving my work hours down into a smaller block has made me way more productive. What about you?
That's great. It's reminded me also of how a lot of people are like, oh, when I'm busier, I get more done. And it's well, yeah, because you have to have stronger boundaries.
Totally.
I think moving kind of does a lot of those for you, no matter what, whether you choose to have that shift in perspective or not. But I feel like my relationship to time and having more patience for the timing of my life being radically different from what I thought. And that's created more ease in my body day to day, and therefore created more flow in my life. And just kind of releasing certain expectations that I've had of how things should go at a certain time. Sounds really broad, but I think has changed my experience of the everyday in a very subtle but powerful way.
It's relatable. And we kind of buried the lead. The reason we want to make a paradoxical move, or why it's on this list of 13 things to live by, is because when we make paradoxical moves, when we have a radical shift in our perspective, that's when magic opens up to us, portals open up to us, that the divergent paths open up to us that can take us places that we never imagined, or can take us where we want to go, but much more quickly. So if we could say quantum leap or a collapse of timeline, by not sort of treading or trudging along the path that you think you're supposed to take, you open up a lot of possibilities, and life's more fun. Life's more interesting. Choose the better story, as we like.
Choose the better story. That's a really good saying to remember, the kind of larger theory behind making a paradoxical move.
Yeah, because it's not blow up your life, because that'll be more interesting. It's more I don't know, let's take a different path to work today and just see what happens. What do we walk past in the city? What do we learn about ourselves? Maybe nothing, but maybe something really cool. Who knows?
Actually, yeah, on that note, I've been trying to work at one new coffee shop every week for a few hours.
Cool.
It's either usually on Wednesdays or Fridays in the morning, and it's incredible how different coffee shops give you different work vibes and inspire productivity in ways where I'm ooh, I feel more inspired on this particular task that maybe I was struggling to do at home. And then,
Do you have an open head center in human design?
Yes.
You and me both, sister. We need to be in those places where we can be around other people's thoughts. Like that helps influence us and inspire us.
100%. It's such a big difference when I'm kind of feeling a little bit like slow moving at home in my brain. And then I get outside and I'm like, zoom.
Huge fan. All right. Make paradoxical moves. That's number 8.
Okay. Number 9. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. In parentheses, right now. How you spend your time tells you a lot about what your priorities are. Your actions illuminate your identity.
We had to borrow a bit from essentialism,
yes.
which is how you can do anything, but you can't do everything, which is rude but true.
Yep.
And very frustrating to those of us who do want to do everything, which is why we put the parenthetical. Obviously, you can do it, but just not right now and not all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But man, oh man, does this just school me every single day.
It's also a nice kind of follow-up to, if you have read Essentialism or if you haven't, is Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks, because this is a big theme in his book, is you have to, at a certain point, and maybe this is kind of what I was talking about before with time, realize like maybe not everything you thought you were going to do or was going to happen by a certain time or at all. So you have to choose wisely. Mm-hmm. Thinking about what you have and the time you have, what are your priorities? Mm-hmm. And, extrapolating out from that, if you feel like, why am I not getting this done? Why am I not doing that thing that I say is so important to me? Maybe look at your calendar and do a little time tracking and being like, well, I guess I am spending, 6 hours a week doing X. Maybe that's because that's what I really need right now, like community. Maybe you're hanging out with friends or doing something that is taking you away from another task. Check in with yourself. Maybe that's what you need and that's actually okay. Or maybe you're like, I could call myself out.
Yeah, I recently was called out by this because I'm working with a consultant to help me with some of my time management stuff and my tasks and blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about, sleep and rest and work. And he was like, okay, well, we were talking actually about shutting my computer down. He's like, okay, so you can either shut your computer down, and go to bed, or you can work. And so which one are you going to choose? And I was like, well, on some days I need to do, I have overflow and I have more tasks because I had more meetings. So I didn't get as much work time in. And on those days I'm going to bring my computer. And he's like, no, are you going to get more sleep or are you going to finish your work? And I was like, well, and he's like, nope, just answer the question. You're going to do one or the other. And of course, not everything is so black and white all the time, but when you're creating like new patterning in your brain, you kind of need it to be that extreme. And it was a very good reminder of like, right, what actually is more important to me right now? If I say that it's being well, my sleep, being well rested, being more present, then I have to like actually abide by that. I can't put other things in front of it and pretend like my well-being is more important when really like none of my actions are showing that to be true. Sometimes what we say are our priorities don't actually line up with what our time priorities truly are. And that is like, it can be very confronting.
Yeah, I feel like it can also be tough when, depending on whatever, let's say, your setup is, where you might feel you have a lot of obligations to say yes to or responsibilities, then to be able to be like, maybe I can't do this one thing right now until this part of my life has shifted.
It's a tough one. Sorry everyone. You can do anything, but you can't do everything right now. And honestly, that's okay. Because if you try to do everything all at once, you're just going to burn out and you're going to do a shit job. All right, number 10. Accept the quest, trust the journey, embody the archetype. Don't future trip or get lost in suffering. I love all these, but this makes the world and life really feel like a game that you get to enter into conversation with. And instead of, life coming at you and you're just like playing this passive role in your existence, it really feels like you're choosing to say yes and move forward. And you're choosing how you interact with the world around you,
Yeah, this is very much instead of life is happening to me, I am the creator of my life reframe.
Yeah. And like you're the hero, part of the hero's journey is they have to accept the quest and say yes and make that transition from the ordinary world to the special world. And I like that reframe of like, right, I'm the hero. I get to pick. I get to cross the threshold from the ordinary world to the special world if I so choose.
The other thing is sometimes when we're in worlds of self-development or interested in self-knowledge and spirituality, we can get lost in the suffering like, oh, I must heal. I must work on this thing before I can move forward. Sometimes that can be a bit of an excuse along the way.
Yeah, that future trip language is from AA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't future trip. It's one of the.
I think it was from AA.
Mm-hmm.
I've always used that term based on not knowing it was part of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it originated in AA. I'm not 100% positive, but I know that they definitely use it. And to your point, like when we're going through something that can feel maybe like an uphill battle, like sometimes I think about this with me and Ethan because he's got his diagnosis where I'm like, damn, what's going to happen? Like, what is this? What's going to go down here? I remember when we first got together, I had some friends who were like, I don't think that you should date this person because I think you're going to get hurt because you're going to inevitably lose them. And well, that like happens to all of us. We do inevitably lose or we are lost, you know, if we don't break up, and most relationships break up. So you lose the person anyways. But a really important part of that for me has been to not future trip and get to like, but what if this happens? But what if this happens? What if this happens? What if I end up alone with a baby? What if all of it could happen? Like it could happen to anyone at any time. It doesn't help me to like stay in that state. What does help me is when things are getting really hard is to sort of pull myself back and be like, what's the moral? What's the lesson? Like, why am I going through this? Like, what am I supposed to get out of it? And sometimes I don't know the answer, but that kind of like helps me not get so navel gazing about it and like, so woe is me or whatever, you know?
Yeah, because you can also be like, what am I learning along the way? Like, how am I growing too? Because sometimes it's hard to be like, what's the reason here? Because horrible things happen all the time that have no direct correlation to logic. So it's a nice reminder sometimes of, well, I'm still growing. I'm learning a lot, or I'm still getting so much joy out of the present every day with this person and this life we're building. So why would I leave or end this situation based on a total fear of the potential of the future? Yeah.
And what's this sort of this quest that is being offered to me? Like what is at the end of it that this provides a container for? And often that's like the most scary thing for us. Like for me, it's abandonment, right? So, that is my, it's like big thing, a continual lesson that comes up in this gorgeous little quest that we're on, you know?
Very beautifully put. Next.
11, the most magical number.
Ooh, I didn't know it was the most magical number, but it is actually.
Yeah, it's like angel number.
Angel numbers.
The most angel of angel numbers.
Okay. For this rule, question your boundaries, perceived and imagined.
Very self-explanatory, that one.
Yep.
We're just both nodding at each other like, yeah, okay, got it. Check.
Pretty straightforward. Just repeat that. I don't know if you've experienced this, but recently talking with friends and in my own relationships where you're like, these boundaries that I've put up, are they actually just walls? Are they actually a defense mechanism versus something that is a comfort zone? And how do I work through that? Or sometimes somebody's boundaries, whatever they are, could be a way to keep you out or prevent the relationship or the partnership from going further. That doesn't mean it's bad. But I think when it comes to yourself, you can really dig into, where is this coming from? Is this actually from a place that is having my own back, or is it from a place of fear of growth? Is it limiting my ability to meet my growth edge here?
And I don't love the limiting beliefs term. I feel like we've talked about it on the podcast before. Like, it's not my favorite way to say this, but I think this is kind of that, right? Of like, well, yeah, what do you believe to be true? Like about yourself, about your limitations, about what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And is that 100% true right now? It could have been true in the past. Like, does it remain? Is it static? Like, is it set in stone? Or is there maybe some like little wiggle room you have? And we don't know what we don't know, right? So if we keep looking through, if we have a meaning making system of the world, which is it's impossible for me to make over 6 figures a year, because people like me just don't do that, then we'll
Yes.
absolutely create the world around us where that remains true. But if we open up that boundary and we say like, well, what if people like me actually can make over six figures a year? We start to like see these little flickers or winks from the universe where it's like, push this button to like take the secret passage to the universe where that happens. And you just, then you start to realize that it is totally possible, and you start to see solutions, and you just begin to think differently.
I like the secret button to the universe.
Right?
It's a good visual.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the visual component.
You never know what it's going to be though. Seriously. It's like, you never know is it going to be that book? Is it going to be that podcast you listen to? Is it going to be that email that you happen to reply to meet up with some person who's going to tell you one little piece of information? And that's the key to like unlocking something for yourself.
Don't you feel like it always is the thing that you never think it is going to be looking back?
Oh yeah. It's never the like big, like it's never like the expensive healing session that you waited 6 months for. It's always like a pamphlet you found on the ground when you were sad, you know?
Like someone you literally bump into and they maybe spill coffee on you. And
yeah. And like a meeting that you have with someone where you never talk to them again, but they give you like one little nugget of information and like you're able to jump off from that.
I can think of so many situations like that. Hindsight. That's why you must follow the messages going forward without logic.
That's true. Okay. 12. Whenever possible, create an 11-star experience for yourself and for your people. AKA, it's more fun to have fun, which is what we say a lot. And I'll put another little addendum there. It ain't that deep. Okay. So the 11-star experience comes from Brian Chesky at Airbnb. They talked about in the origination of Airbnb, thinking about the 5-star experience for a guest, and then taking that even further to a 6-star experience, a 7-star experience, on and on to an 11-star experience. And of course, when they brainstormed what an 11-star experience would be, it's like, you know, there's a parade in the town when you land from the airport, and they like take you on a float to your Airbnb home and whatever. Obviously that can't happen, but there's a lot that you can do that could evoke similar feelings in a guest who is landing at an Airbnb for the first time. And I love that expansive way of thinking of like, it really is an example of questioning your boundaries, perceived or otherwise, of like, okay, this is what everyone expects of us, but what could make it even better? Or what would make this even more fun for me? I think about that a lot. Like if I'm going to something that I'm maybe not too keen on, I'm like, okay, well, how can I make this the best for everyone? What would be the most fun thing that we could do that's going to be so memorable and such a riot? And then try to do that, you know? It's usually not that complicated.
No, because sometimes you can even just make it something that is like a little, not joke for yourself, but experiment for yourself. Mm-hmm. You can be like, how many jokes can I test on people here? Or whatever.
Yeah, like a secret rule, like
routine.
when someone like says a word that you like have to drink, or you have to like, I don't know, do 20 burpees in front of everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, Michelle's acting a little
more weird
crazy
than normal. Yeah. Yeah. We did this a couple years ago when we had a big family vacation, with my husband's family and their kids. And, you know, it can sometimes be stressful when you're with family. So we were trying to think of like, what would make it really fun? What could we do that would be really fun for the kids? That would be like a fun tradition. And of course I went like way overboard, and I was like, we should do a scavenger hunt, but we should make it like historical scavenger hunt, and there should be a mystery, and we should have it every year that we like bring something. And Ethan was like, that sounds like a lot of work. How are we going to do that? And I was like, okay, you're right. Never mind. What else can we do? And we came up with superlatives. So now at the end of every trip that we have, we write superlatives, and my niece remembers every single time. She's like, we have to do the superlatives, Michelle. So we do that every year. That's and we like
so
frame them. Yeah. But it was just like, oh yeah, how can I make this experience more fun for me too, for everyone? And, that's a little one.
I know a good number of people listening are going to steal that activity, including myself.
You should. That's a really good one. Another good one I will say that's very fun that we also did with my husband's family, which was my idea.
You're like,
I will take credit for that. We were in Boston and my family came in too. And so we all picked a place on the Freedom Trail.
Oh yeah.
And we basically did like drunk history, but not drunk. So everyone took a place like on this walking trail that they were going to like research and tell the rest of the family about. And so we kind of did like 2 truths and a lie about each historical place. So everyone like was an expert on their historical place and had to get up and present it to the family. And it was really fun because, you know, otherwise you're just wandering around. You're looking it up on your phone, and it was a good experience. It was really fun.
How did everyone present?
We did the walk. So we like walked
fun.
through the city. I think it would also be really fun to do that for like if you go to Europe, and you couldn't get a tour guide for some reason and you
do it yourself.
Yeah, it's like a nice way to enroll and like learn, you know, enroll other people in the experience.
I love this idea because it's also like, how do you create a better experience in a more creative way that doesn't necessarily have to mean adding very big additional costs, whether it's monetary or time or whatever. Maybe this is a little bit more time and organization. And that's one of the things I like so much about this exercise is how do you get out of your perceived limits of what a like family gathering is, or it doesn't matter. You can apply it to a dinner party like you're about to host.
Yeah.
And you're like, what would make this so memorable that everyone's going to leave feeling really good and talking about it? And I know you have a ton of ideas.
Do I?
Which I do want to hear. But we are also at number 13.
The last one.
Number 13. Radically commit to the human experience. Ascension is overrated.
Overrated.
Wow, 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 wow. This one is good. Just like the rest of them. This one in particular, though. It really sums up all of them in a way.
I agree. It's commit to the bit, cringe and be free. Do it with your full ass. You're never going to regret doing it with your full ass. You will regret half-assing it. Like I have so many things that I'm like, I can't believe embarrassment held me back from actually living that experience and like sucking all the juice out of that time of my life. I cannot believe that like being self-conscious prevented me. Like, I wish I could go back in time, but I never regret like actually going for it ever.
I had a moment in a relationship where I was having this like in and out, don't know if I want to be in this relationship. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to, for the next perceivable time, like commit to this more than I've ever committed before. And there was so much learning in that. We didn't stay together, but I don't take that experience away. I learned so much. It helped improve the relationship so much for both of us, but it also really taught me a lesson in like being 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and what that can do to anything you're doing. Even if it's like, the fear of missing out on something else, because so much of society is like, there's a better partner, there's a better job, there's a better project, there's a better company you could start. You know, it's a constant paradox of choice that you have to resist. So I really think that one is tough, but an incredible reminder whenever you notice yourself kind of tiptoeing in and out.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what we do, and much of this list, right, just reiterates like refocus your attention and like be intentional with the energy that you're putting into the world and how you spend your time and what you think about and what you create. And we live in a world that's totally unintentional and not conscious, and that asks us to be like sort of spread thin almost constantly. And it's impossible to throw yourself in 100% when you're spread too thin, when you're asked to be too many things all at once, all at the same time, when your attention is every which way. And I think when our attention is distracted, obviously, by everything in front of us, we lose the plot of like why we're here. And that's the ascension is overrated part. We're not here to like escape this mortal coil. Right? We're not here to like not have a human experience. We're not here to go sit on a mountain in meditation and like reach nirvana. We're here in these like mushy, muscular, physical meat suits that are degrading as we sit in this conversation. Like we're here to experience what it's like to be a human on this planet in this time. And so anything that like pulls me away from that and tries to distract me from that experience is not doing me a service. And so much of what we do actually like does help us forget and like take for granted that we have these little bodies, you know?
Little bodies. Yeah, the ascension is overrated part gets me in so many different ways. Even when I'm feeling, oh, this person is dysregulating me.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I'm feeling like, ooh, I can't be around that person's energy. That's not to say that that is not fair or true, but sometimes it has me pull back and be like, is it really that?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it that I'm experiencing discomfort and I'm not able to separate myself from this person or situation in a healthy way? So maybe I do need to step back. But oftentimes we can get almost too wrapped up in the preciousness of our own internal experiences.
Yeah, you just put that so well, and it clicked something for me in my brain. I kind of like feel a resistance to like rest culture, just like rest for the sake of rest for the sake of rest. And I think part of it is because I'm like, but we're supposed to like be feeling things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I am finally clicking for me that like, no, rest is important because we need to pause so that we can actually feel the things, and we can have space and time to process what we're going through and to see like the beauty of, I don't know, watching the clouds roll by on a Tuesday afternoon. There's a lot there. There's a lot in boredom. I mean, magic happens in boredom. All genius happens in hours of boredom. So if you don't have boredom built into your life, then like, how are you expected to be a genius in whatever it is that you want to do? You're not really setting yourself up for success there.
Oof, great way to end.
Be bored. Turn off podcast.
Stop listening because this episode's over anyways.
Just kidding. We're not scolding you. We're not scolding you.
We love you for being here, actually.
Yeah.
And tuning in for our part 2 of our 13 rules for squiggly brained witches.
Should we do our rapid fire segments? What's the one weird thing about the Holisticism 13 rules?
This is a little too close to home. The one weird thing is that, or funny thing, I think when I look at these, is we had to like make an asterisk for every rule. It's like this, but also this.
Yeah. Totally. It's like, but if you don't like that, you don't have to take that one. You could just consider part of it. You know, just do whatever you want with it. Yeah, it's like the rules, but like kind of ish.
Here's the grades then. You can enter it.
Yeah. Are the 13 rules a matcha girly or a coffee stand?
The first thing that came to mind was like a turmeric latte, but I don't know if people might think that's a bad thing.
Maybe, I don't know. You know, wait, do you want to know something unhinged that I had this weekend at Dayglow in LA?
Yes, that is the place to have an unhinged latte.
It was unhinged. I thought I was ordering a coffee. I took off the lid and it was green and brown. It's because it was a matcha with a shot of espresso, and it was actually really good. It was really
That's
good.
what this is.
It was really good.
That's what this is.
Yeah, it was like an espresso surprise, but it was matcha surprise. It was great. Okay, on the V to P scale, the Virgo to Pisces scale, where does the 13 rules fall?
I think pretty Pisces.
It's like, and we're not just saying that because we're Pisces and Aquarius sitting here, but I do think it's sort of like Pisces Aquarius adjacent.
Yeah, it's like, here's some thoughts and feels.
Here's some like existential stuff, but also like some watery, like vibes, if you will.
Some vibes.
Yeah. What's the sun, moon, and rising archetype to the 13 rules, you think?
Oh, I was going to ask you that.
Oh, okay. You can ask me that.
What says you?
Well, it's funny because we wrote this like, I feel like 2 years ago, but I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally like a Rick Rubin rising.
Yeah. Yes.
And like a rebel moon. Oh, no, maybe a rebel sun, because it's like kind of like, you know, antithetical to like pragmatic society, but it's also, I don't know, maybe a mystic moon, because at its like emotional, it believes in magic. It's like fairy moon.
Ooh, I love mystic moon. Yes, all of those things and more. It's in a year, it might be a little different.
Oh yeah, we reserve the right to change our mind on all these things.
There you go.
Another asterisk for you all.
Yeah. Is it a morning glory or a midnight worm? What do we call it?
Hobbit hole. But I do feel like we should change Hobbit hole. Even though it makes me laugh every single time, I'm like, I don't think it's what we're going. I don't know. Readers, listeners, let us know.
Also, midnight worm doesn't make sense.
Midnight worm is kind of good though. I don't know. It's got something to it where I'm like, I see that worm typing away at midnight. Like, I'm burning the midnight oil. I think that this is a late morning. The 13 rules are they're like a 10 a.m. And would you be an acolyte of the 13 rules for Squiggly Brain Witches?
I feel that this is a rhetorical question.
You don't even need to answer that one.
Yes. All right. Well, pick and choose, leave the rest.
And these are on our Instagram. So if you want to go see all the rules, you can check them out there. I was actually thinking of like getting prints of these done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys want them? Let us know. Because if you do, we'll make a little print shop and then you can have it on your wall. And it's really cute. We got it like, designed by this amazing designer. So they're
so great.
Sweet. Yeah. That's the podcast.
That's
the show. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening. And if you want to support the pod, you can also subscribe to our monthly audio courses, which you can find how to subscribe to in the show notes. It's super easy. You can do it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and it really helps support us make this podcast. And also, you get additional content every month, a little audio course teaching you on something that we're thinking about, working on, working through. It's a lot of fun.
What we're living, laughing, and loving on, you know?
Exactly.
We'd so appreciate if you left a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and you wrote a little note to let the people know when they're like, what's this thing about? Let them know what you like about the podcast, what you look forward to. It really helps us get discovered by other people, and we so appreciate it. We love hearing from you.
Yes, we do. Thank you for being with us, and let us know what rules you like the most.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Yes, tell us your favorites. Okay. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you later. Have a good week.
Bye. The 12th is produced by yours truly, Wallis Blanchard. Our theme music is made by Nathan McKay, and our wonderful editing is done by Softer Sound Studios, who you can find more information about in our show notes.